Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. Today's expression is very famous in China right now, and 内卷 has been almost the theme song, the zeitgeist of China for many years, because Chinese as an economy has been taken off in the past 40 years. But then where are we heading? How are people still making a good living, reaching middle class and all that in this highly pressured, highly stressful environment when the globalization already happened, the industrialization already happened? Then what next? So the phenomenon of 内卷 it's a social, I guess it's a societal concept that people within an environment, so it got a constraint and a boundary, and the people in that environment with limited input, try to increase the output. So how can you increase more output when the input is limited? Meaning your resources, your capital, your fund, your energy, all that, natural resources, all that are limited. You are working off a paradigm that's constrained with what you have, what you are standing now, and how are you going to increase the output. In other words, it means the marginal increase of productivity is getting smaller and smaller. And so people living in this bounded environment are going to have higher pressure, more competition, and because it's even if there's this China population collapse, doomsayer out there, this population is still huge out there. So how younger generations came into the labor market made it in China. So 内卷 is people who are already in the system, who already doing their daily, grinding of work, made up this concept of for you to go anywhere. In that closed environment, you have to inwardly fold. Inwardly fold. And inward means you're bound, you have a boundary, you cannot go outside. You're in the box, so to speak. And then the pressure cooker, right? The pressure is higher. And for you to 卷, like turning in, like a fold, to further pressure yourself past that boundary, outward boundary, which is your living environment, your societal limit, turn that inwardly, give yourself higher pressure. So I'm reading a book, which is, I guess, a good illustration of this concept of 内卷 is 10 times, 10x is easier than 2x. So this 内卷 totally is illustrating the 2x thing, which is you try to increase your productivity, your output by just working yourself off. And that's the 内卷 concept. You 卷 yourself, you fold yourself, and you fold with each other within that system. Okay, 内 is made of this arch, means a space with boundary. Okay, concept of boundary again. And then we have this kind of a needle-looking thing. It's also a person-looking thing, sitting in that space. And somehow it means puncturing through a boundary and now remain in it. So if you visualize it, it almost like some thorny thing punctured through the space. And because the bottom is open up, so it's kind of stuck in there. That's how I like to visualize how it becomes inward. So when we say medical, what is it called? 内科, which is your medical doctor, which is examining your internal organs. And that internal, we use this concept of 内. And over here, because it's a 卷, it's an action word. So it got a direction there. So I have to translate it as inward. Instead of internal, it's inward. So you see how the same character can be applied in different contexts, translated into different inward in English. Okay, fold. This folding concept is made of action words as well. It's most likely to be a kind of agriculture practice with double hands. You have left finger, right finger reaching out from the bottom of the screen. So that's basically a first person perspective, your hands, and you're working on something, both hands. What are you working on? You're working on some rice product. So on the top is mi, it's this rice thing. We have this quadrants separating rice. And in each quadrant, there is this diagonal pointed grain of rice in there. So that's how Chinese express rice. I guess we have to have a classification, clear classification of rice from the beginning, because it relates to how much you get paid. And that's the thing, the most important thing for farmers, which is the majority of the population back then, right? So that how to classify the grain of rice, the level of grains. And that became rice. Double hand working on rice work. So I guess it's a farm work, like a post-harvest processing. And then the bottom here is somebody kneeling down, working on that. So I don't exactly know what would require you to kneel over and work on some rice product. That's a blank of knowledge gap I have. But this kneeling down is expressed by, you can see this is the knee, this is the calves, and you have your back torso in this direction. This is probably your arm. So you're basically a side view kind of doing this, kneeling down. And so basically you're hovering over, kneeling down, working on something, some farm work related. And that turned into this fold concept, but probably in that process, in particular, it involves a lot of folding things. So 内卷 inward fold. It's like almost like a collapsion, inwardly collapse. And when I check up the Wikipedia, actually translate 内卷 as involution. And I'm showing the seashell intricate twist and turning, swirling imagery to give it a sense of it's turning, it's inward turning. And it looks orderly, right? But I guess put it in the societal lens, it's going to get chaotic because the pressure of the boundaried resources, and then you try to make a living in that environment. It's almost like a pressure cooker scenario. So 内卷 is the theme song. And yeah, I guess in America, people face that as well. Like what next now with this AI age and all that, right? So 内卷 is a Chinese new expression, the next speak, to describe the phenomenon of we're feeling so stressed in this highly competitive environment that you have to inward, either yourself or with others, be highly competitive to make your cut in this today's world. There you go, 内卷. Thank you for your time. See you another time.